Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Thank you for being in our audience tonight, whether you're watching us live tonight, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, or if you're listening to one of our podcasts on audio or an embedded video on our Indie Book Source or our YouTube. We're really happy you decided to join us.
Indeed we are.
We have to say hello to a lot of people. Paul Rushworth Brown, hello from Sydney,
Hey, Paul.
Australia. Hi, Paul. Glad to see you in the audience. Glad you got the time. Good morning, I should
Good
say.
morning. Down under.
Down under. Joe Conjal said, good evening, Rob and Joan. Good
Hey, Joe.
evening, Joe Conjal. George Dismukes. Okay, I'm here, but going in and out of the house, barbecuing baby back ribs.
Baby back ribs.
Oh, come on, George.
Now I'm hungry. Bring me one too, please.
George makes the best brisket I have
Mhm.
ever tasted in my life.
Texas style.
Texas style in
Mhm.
Texas, where
In
he
Texas.
lives. Marjorie Deering says, hi all from
Hi,
snowy
Marjorie.
Wisconsin.
Snowing, that's right.
We saw that, Marjorie.
Mm.
We saw that. His brother lives in Wisconsin. And we were like,
Yeah.
uh-oh.
Whoops.
Yeah, we remember when it would snow when we lived in Illinois in
Easter.
April and
Yeah.
Easter. It's like, really? Poor Easter bunny.
Winter's long enough without that.
Paul
right?
says, evening, Robin Joan. Hello,
Hey, Paul.
Paul. So glad all of you are in the audience today.
Well, might be getting some snow too. Maybe. I don't know. Lake effect, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see. Ooh, Joe Conjal just finished his dinner.
Oh, Joe just finished eating a sirloin from the grill.
Mm.
Sounds good.
Sure does. I want to remind everybody about Thursday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. www.wdjy.com broadcasts our show. And that's if you live in the Atlanta area, you can listen to it live, or 99.1 FM in Atlanta. You can listen to it on an actual radio. That's crazy. Anyway, also remind everybody Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, episode Rewind, where we replay all of these wonderful shows, the wonderful authors that we have on. You get a chance to see them if you missed them. And then next Wednesday at 7 p.m., we're going to be talking with author Larry Friedland. He's a military historical fiction author.
That should be fun.
Yeah, it should be. And then we want to talk about also San Leon book signing blowout. Southeastern Texas is preparing for this blowout on Saturday, April 27th, 2024, noon to 4 p.m. at the Pier 6 Seafood Restaurant, San Leon, Texas. They still need more authors to participate. So if you're anywhere near Southeastern Texas and you're an author, here's a chance to join up with a whole bunch of really good authors and get your books out there. It's a beautiful restaurant. Each author must provide their own tent, table, and chairs. And if you don't have a tent, you need to let George know. And I think we have his phone number on the...
No, you don't. You took it off.
I have it on the under banners.
Under banners, yeah.
And here, I'll get it for you. have to get it the hard way because I forgot to put it over there. There it is right there. And you can call George at 281-229-0775 for more information. And also his email is mayanartintl@yahoo.com. That's mayanartintl@yahoo.com. And there's a $25 donation requested from each author, which will be used for advertising to promote the event and get people to show up at the restaurant. I think he's hoping to make this an annual event. So
281-229-0775. Yeah, we just showed that.
There you go.
But we'll show it again.
There you go. And then in the book news, we still want to remind everybody. Oh, okay. Hang on a second here. We have a little technical situation. Thanks. There we go. In the book world, I want to remind everybody about book 22 in the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles. Has just came out a few weeks ago, and that's Girlfriend Retreat, and that's written by Linda Pirtle. And that's a really good one. So you want to grab that if you haven't gotten it yet. And then we also want to tell you about one that just is on pre-order right now. You're able to pre-order it. Joan and I wrote this one. It's A Chance of a Ghost. Pre-order is on sale for 99 cents for the ebook. You can order it. It'll be released on April 20th. So if you haven't gotten into the Magnolia Bluff thing, there's 23. We're book 23. So, but they are standalone books as well.
Yes, each one is a standalone.
Yeah, by a different author. So
Joe Conchel says, "Love your cover." Thank you. We really love it. Cyprian does a good job. Paul Rushworth Brown says, "On my next show, I'm interviewing my wife to see what it's like living with an author." Ha ha ha. And he also says, "Congratulations." Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. All right. So
without further ado,
would you like to introduce our guest for tonight?
Let's bring on Cheryl.
Okay. Hi, Cheryl.
Hello, Cheryl. This is CHERYL CARPINELLO.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm good.
That's good.
Thanks.
Would you like to tell people a little bit about how you got into writing and why you write and how long have you been writing?
Oh, how long? That means I got to figure out the years. I don't know.
Give us around an idea.
I'm a retired high school English teacher, and for 20-some years, I taught kids who didn't like to read. And I found that they liked the Arthurian legend. They liked the tales from the ancient worlds that we would deal in. And so I decided when I retired that that's what I would do. But I would try to reach those kids at an earlier age rather than waiting till they got up to the high school level. So I do for middle grade, I do Arthurian legend and then tales from the ancient world, middle grade and young adult. I started in 2008, I believe, with Guinevere, book 1, On the Eve of Legend. And I did that because when I would ask the kids in the classroom what they knew about Arthurian legend, they always told me 3 things. They knew King Arthur, they knew he married Guinevere, and they knew that Guinevere cheated on him with Lancelot. I got the same answer year after year after year. So I decided, you know what? I'm writing for younger kids. I'm going to give them a real Guinevere, not this Guinevere that all these people think is out there. So I start with Guinevere at age 12 on the eve of her 13th birthday. And she's just a normal preteen, even back in the Middle Ages. She wants to have fun. She doesn't want to take responsibilities, but she really doesn't have a choice. So that's where I started with that. And that was going to be my only book. And I did that. I self-published that one back in 2008, came out in 2009. And then over the years, I did some other books in between, but I kept getting, people would say, well, what's going to happen? Are you going to write some more books? I said, well, no, not really. I just wanted to introduce kids to Guinevere as a young girl. But eventually I just had to write more. So the characters kind of wouldn't leave me alone in my head along with my readers. And so I said, okay, I'll write you one more book. And so I wrote Guinevere at the Dawn of Legend, book 2. And then at the end of that, they're in such dire straits that I had to write a book 3, which is Guinevere the Legend. And that's her and her best friend Sedwin there. And now I still get girls will come up and say, are you going to do the wedding? Are you going to write about Guinevere and Arthur getting married? I said, no, I'm done. I'm not going to do another one. But so back in 2008 is when I started. As a high school English teacher, I had absolutely no time to do any writing. I used to write when I was younger and before I started teaching. But once you're an English teacher and you've got all those research papers and essays to grade, you just don't have any time for it. And my summers were usually spent, if we weren't traveling, I was boning up on what I was going to teach the next year and getting some new materials together. So it wasn't until I retired that I actually did that. And I went several ways. Like I said, I self-published myself with Guinevere, the first book. And then I did another book, The King's Ransom, Young Knights of the Round Table, through a publisher up in Canada. And they just did the ebook. And when I asked about a paperback book, because the kids that I write for, ages 8 and 9 up through 12 and 13 for my Arthurian Legend, they actually need to hold something. And they need to feel that book, and they need to be able to look at the pictures. And they didn't want to do a paperback. And so I said, well, you know what? I do. I really need that. So I asked for my rights back for the book and the ebook. And so I took that and I went with Publish Inc. out of South Carolina, and they published that one for me. And then I believe they also did the next 2 books of Guinevere. But then after that, I met a couple fellow authors through Facebook and through various things. One, Wendy Leighton Porter, lives in France most of the time. She divides her time between there and England. And then Fiona Ingram lives on the island of Cyprus. When I first met her, she was in South Africa. And then she moved up there. And so then Wendy formed a publishers co-op, which is Silver Quill Publishing. And so that is where I publish through now, is Silver Quill Publishing. And there are, I believe, 13 of us now. We may have gotten another, so there may be 14. But I'm the only US author. Most of them are based in England. We do have one Arabian princess who has published her children's books on the environment through Silver Quill. But that's what I do now. So I seek out my own designers, but I use the Silver Quill Publishing as my publishing house. So
awesome. We have a few comments. One's very nice. George Dismuke says, having had the privilege to read A Chance of a Ghost, I want to tell you for a fact it will knock an owl out of a tree.
Oh, poor owls. You didn't throw it at the owl, did you?
There are some tense parts. Joe Conjo says, hi, Cheryl. Funny how those characters get stuck in your head screaming to get out.
Yes, they really do.
And Robert White says, they'll be back.
I hope not.
I'm thinking they will too. I think the age you write for, they want to have a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This one doesn't, though.
Well, and you're the boss of that. So Joe Conjo said the covers have a similar look. Were you able to use the same cover artist for each book, even with different publishers?
Yes. In fact, Guinevere, On the Eve of Legend, and the Young Knights, The King's Ransom, they're each on their 3rd cover. I experimented and did some things that when I went with Publish in South Carolina, and they hooked me up with Chris Berg Design, and he just does a fabulous job. So he has done all of my covers and still does my covers.
I love the horse on the first Guinevere.
Oh yeah, I
love it.
Yeah, and that book, that horse sells more books than anything I could ever say, because they look at that unicorn and the young girls just go absolutely crazy for it. But it's
Joseph Rebus says, adding it to my to-read list, but I think he was talking about Our Chance of a Ghost. But Robert White says to you, beware of the Lady of the Lake getting in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a good story, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I take it you're going a different direction now, though.
I'm with the ancient world stories now, and I'm really enjoying those. That I love that cover.
Okay, but this is not the ancient world.
No, that's still Arthurian Legend. Yeah. So
Here?
Yep, that one. And that may be the only cover that Chris didn't do. I'm not sure. No, he did do that one because that's on its second cover. Because I had one that was all black with the gold on it. So he did do that one, yes. And that one and the Sons of the Sphinx, which I'm going to read from a little bit later. I wanted to write Sons of the Sphinx. That's what I tried to write that for several months, and I didn't get any place. And I just kept talking about characters in your head. I just kept hearing this person say, if you write my story, I'll let you write Sons of the Sphinx. And I said, what? I don't want to do that. I just want to write this adventure. And finally I figured out it was King Tut. He said, if you write my story, then I'll leave you alone and you can write Sons of the Sphinx. So I had to quit Sons of the Sphinx and go back and do Tutankhamun Speaks. I had to write the story that he wanted me to do first. And then Sons of the Sphinx just kind of rolled right off of the page.
So let's go back to this one because Joe Conjal made a comment about it. He said, that cover has the sword and the stone vibe. Yeah, it does.
Yes. And we originally had a cover of just a castle. And then it had a cover of some of the characters around a sword. And it just, when Chris Berg came up with this one, I was like, that's the best one of all. So,
did you name Tutankhamun Speaks? Did you pick out that title because he was speaking to you?
Yes.
Oh, very clever. Good.
Yes. He tells his story. I just wrote it down.
Yeah. We know what you're talking about.
Talking about ghosts,
Yes. When we were writing our book, we intended it to be a little bit more factual than it turned out to be. But the two main ghosts decided they needed to be a bigger part of the show.
It was real different.
It was.
You just have to let them go, if you're going to get anything accomplished. So,
Sons of the Sphinx. What is that about?
It's a time travel adventure.
Oh,
time travel.
1330 BC Egypt with the ghost of King Tut.
Okay.
That's why he wouldn't let me write it until I wrote his story.
Right.
There you go.
And I'm not going there unless you do my stuff first. Rosa, as you'll find out, she carries part of King Tut's queen and ox and a moon in her soul. And since he died first, he doesn't know where his queen is buried. So he's been given permission to come back one last time in human form to find out where his queen is buried and to correct the wrongs that have been done in Egypt. So he comes and takes her back to 1330 BC Egypt to his time so that she can help him find where his queen is buried and they can be together.
Wow. That sounds good. Mm-hmm. And then Feathers of the Phoenix. Now you're in a different place.
Kind of. This is going to be a 5-book series because they're hunting for the 5 feathers of the phoenix bird that Poseidon cast to the wind when he sank the island of Atlantis. And Rosa from Sons of the Sphinx crosses over because she has this extraordinary power. She walks in 2 worlds, in her world and in other worlds. And so her and her cousin Jerome are tasked to find the first feather in the Atlantean horse of the phoenix bird. So, and their only problem is that the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, notice I said that okay, also want the feathers, but they want it so that they can raise the island and plunder all the wealth on it.
Wonderful. Joe Conjal says, up your alley, Joan, LOL. Yep, I know. I'm thinking, wow, these are really great fantasy books.
There you go.
Chris Chrisman says, I love a 2-world walker. Yeah, this is fascinating. When you wrote Guinevere, to go back to that, was there as much fantasy in that as hearing from you for the later books?
No, in fact, I never thought I wrote fantasy.
Uh-huh.
I really didn't. And I had a fellow author. We have the Denver Comic-Con, a big show here every July. And he asked me a few years ago to speak on a panel of fantasy authors and how you build your fantasy world. And I told him at the time, I said, well, I can do that. I said, but I don't write fantasy. Do you see what's on your cover? That's a unicorn. I said, well, I believe in unicorns. I don't think that's fantasy. No, I pretty much follow the legend. If you're familiar with the legend of King Arthur, I have Merlin, and of course King Arthur. But the story is really the story of friendship between Guinevere and her best friend Cedwin. Because with Guinevere's mom having passed away when she was little, Cedwin's mom has basically raised her along with him. And so they are just two normal kids who think with their hearts and then they think with their heads. And it's usually a little too late once they start thinking with their heads because they're already knee deep in trouble.
Well, that's fun though to read. I mean, what fun is it if they're not in trouble? Oh,
it's time for a break.
Oh, it is time for our break.
It's past time.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, what's going on here? We
were so interested, we forgot we needed to take a commercial break.
Yeah. So now for a word from our sponsors.
We'll
Don't
be
go
right
away,
back.
folks.
It's every parent's worst nightmare. Police officer Madison Jackson awakes to discover her baby kidnapped from her crib. Was it revenge for someone she arrested or something far more sinister? Madison's estranged husband is incarcerated in Supermax. As the second in command of a deadly Mexican cartel, did he issue the order to abduct their daughter? Bye, Baby, Bye, from author Kelly Marshall. Get your copy today.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than 3-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
And we're back. And for those that were just listening to the podcast, that last commercial was for Enigma Tracer by Breakfield and Berkey, available on Amazon.
So Joe Conjal says, my favorite Arthurian story is The Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Read it back in high school and it's always stuck with me. That was by Mark Twain. And then he said, not sure if that counts though, LOL. And Chris Chrisman says, and it's a time travel story.
That's true.
Which it is. So yes, it does count.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, he was back in King Arthur's Court. That was...
Yeah, I remember. It's been a long time. I remember that.
I remember that book too. I loved it also. Did you want to do something?
No.
No. All right. Before I forget, let me put up all of your. You know what?
Oh, we didn't put
put the ticker up.
Jeez, we're sleeping tonight.
Yep, we are, or something.
Or something.
So here's your website. It's CHERYLCARPINELLO.com. CHERYLCARPINELLO. And you can find her there, and they can get all of your information, all the different social media that you're on.
Yes, my contact. Yes.
And then her publisher's website is Silver Quill Publishing, and that's SILVERQUILLPUBLISHING. And if you would like to get in touch with Cheryl, you can email her at ccarpinello@mac.com. So that's CCARPINELLO. There you go. Now you have all her info.
Right.
Now, which book did you want to read from?
I'm going to do the beginning of Sons of the Sphinx.
Okay, great.
It took me a while to figure out which one I wanted to do because I like them all.
Good.
So, and I'm just going to read the opening of the prophecy and just part of the first chapter because I don't want to read too much. But so the prophecy starts the book. Behold, when the last boy Pharaoh is awakened, he will have one chance to right the wrong. United with a spirit vessel from the future, he must seek to find the one robbed of his reign, who will lead the way to the tomb of his lost queen. There must the confrontation with the usurper be held, and the presentation of his confession to the old priests be given. If the usurper holds his 10th jubilee and is allowed to acknowledge his son as his successor, the wrong will not be righted, and the queen will remain lost to her Pharaoh forever. So chapter 1. I don't see dead people. I hear them. I talk to them. Boy, you should try that. Talk about people looking like you've got two heads. That will do it. I used to look in the mirror after talking to them to see what others saw. All I saw was me, Rosa, an ordinary 15-year-old girl. Well, not so ordinary. I do have my father's emerald eyes, but no glowing auras, no ghosts on my shoulders, only my sun-streaked blonde hair usually in need of a trim. It would be one thing if I talked to famous dead people. You know, like that Elvis Presley guy my mother still drools over. I mean, really? The guy would be like ancient today. Anyway, if I talked to him, I could give my mom a personal message like, sorry we never got to hook up. That'd be worth a few extra bucks for allowance, don't you think? No, the dead people who talk to me are just dead nobodies. Nothing exciting to say, nothing going down. They're just hanging out waiting for, I don't know, to be more dead, I guess, or to see how much trouble they can get me in. Take today in math class. We're taking this test. See, I'm concentrating real hard on this problem, trying to figure height or something. Then I hear this. Hey, you. I jerk up in my chair, searching for the guy doing the talking. I glance at the kids on either side of me. Nothing. I look up at the teacher. He's glaring at me. Great, I whisper. He probably thinks I'm trying to cheat. I bow my head and focus on the problem again. You, I'm talking to you. I shake my head in hopes of tossing out that voice. I know now, some dumb dead guy wants to talk to me. Would you be quiet? I'm trying to take a math test. Oh, sure, that's okay for you to say. I'll never take another test again. His voice breaks up like bad radio reception. Not my problem. I died too soon. I really did. Look, I haven't talked to one yet who didn't say that. Kind of goes with the dead part. Now leave me alone. You're going to make me fail this test. I hear him snort like he has to blow his nose, if the dead can actually do that. Then comes the kicker. I just want another chance. I promise I'll do better. I'm not going to say this one more time. Not my problem. Now leave me alone. I form 3 exclamation points in my head, so if he's reading my thoughts as well as listening, he will get the picture. But it isn't fair, he whines. It just isn't fair. Okay, I'm fed up with this guy. I can't even remember the formula for the problem I'm trying to answer. I'm definitely going to fail if he keeps on yapping. I try to ignore him and concentrate on remembering the stupid formula. Not fair. My brain is fried and I've had enough. I slam my pencil on my desk and stand up. But I don't give a damn if it isn't fair. Just shut the hell up so I can get this test done. Did you get the part where I stand up and yell? Yep, that brings me an F on the test and a trip to the AP's office. I can't even defend myself. What am I going to say? Excuse me. I'm sorry I blurted out loud in the middle of the test, and I'm sorry for cussing. But you see, this dead person wouldn't shut up. Yeah, that would go over well. Nope, I just sit with my head down, my face burning from embarrassment, and whisper, it won't happen again. It has to be the stress over the test. You get the picture. So that's Rosa.
Very clever.
Yes. Yeah. Rosa. Poor Rosa. I can relate.
Yes, you probably can. That's right.
Yep. Great, I can. I see them and I hear them. Yeah. And they don't really care what you're doing.
No, Rosa finds that out. They don't.
Let's see. Chris Chrisman said, awesome. Marjorie Deering said, terrific. And Joe Conjal said, very nice. I can see why young children and young teenagers would really love those books.
Well, you know, and I based my characters on, they're based on the students that I had over the years.
I'm sure.
I thought so.
And a little on myself, but yes.
I mean, it's obvious you know how they think, you know. You can tell from your writing.
They don't think much, though. That's the problem. It's usually a lot of reaction.
Yeah.
They act first and think later.
Yes, exactly.
When they're in the AP office. And then they have time. So this is the young woman who, well, the girl, the 15-year-old that travels between time.
Right. Yeah. And I just a little bit further on from that, after she is home for the day from school, she hears somebody calling her name. And instead of saying Rosa, this person says Rusa, Rusa. And she finally, hollers at him. She pitches a fit in her bedroom. If you guys just don't leave me alone, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, all of a sudden, she said, what was it? Oh, she's doing a project in school on King Tut. And so she's working on it by herself because she said, you know how that goes when you're in groups. Just one person usually ends up doing all the work. And in this case, this is me. And so she looks up at a picture that she has of King Tut and an ox and a moon from the tomb. And she says, I wonder if King Tut looks for her like I would look for her. And she hears this voice say, I do. And then she turns around and he's there in the flesh.
Cool.
Well, she's not too sure about that, but
I think it's cool. Marjorie Deering said, Rosa sounded very much like a real 15-year-old girl. And Chris Chrisman said, that's the kind of stuff I read as a teenager. Yeah, that's right. Joe Conjal said, some writers wrestle with voice and tense when beginning a book. What went into your choice of first person present tense? Was it a process to make that decision, or did you just know it was right for the story?
I think I just knew that's how the story was going to unfold. It was kind of like with Tutankhamun Speaks, that was his story, and this is Rosa's. And so I couldn't tell the story as good as she can. So she does that, and she's also, well, both her and her cousin Jerome in the Feathers of the Phoenix, they are both first-person characters in there because they're the ones on the adventures.
Yeah, so you have two first-person voices speaking in that book. Yeah, you have to, otherwise you're not going to get the other person's part of the story told, unless you do third-person omniscient then.
And yeah, and I'm not a real big fan of that. I kind of like I think the first person draws you in better and gets you right in their minds.
Yeah, well, it's really fascinating, honestly. I like all of it. So after Feathers of the Phoenix, well, you know what? Did you hate giving up Tutankhamun and Sons of the Phoenix and that whole storyline?
Leaving those stories.
Leaving those stories, yeah.
Kind of. Like I say, King Tut, his story is retold in pieces through Sons of the Sphinx, so he's still there. And in fact, he's still present even in the Feathers of the Phoenix, because that's where Rosa first finds out that she walks in two worlds is because of him.
Oh, that's interesting.
If he had not come and gotten her in Sons of the Sphinx and taken her back to his day in Egypt, she would not have realized that she could do that experience.
Interesting.
And in fact, the Atlantean that comes to her in the Atlantean Horse does so because Queen Anaxamoon told him that the only way that they can get to raise the island of Atlantis is if they can get Rosa to find those feathers of the phoenix and bring them to them. And she said she told him that she can do that because she does walk in two worlds. So she can do in her world and she'll do in ours. So wherever you need her to go, she can do that.
Interesting. And you said there's going to be 5 books altogether in that?
There's going to be 5. I'm working on the second one now. It's tentatively titled Norse Star, Norse, but I don't know if I'm going to stick with that one or not. I like the idea of the horse on the cover of the Atlantean Horse, and there is a character in the second book, a cat. The book takes place in Iceland, back before the Saga Age, back before the 400s, and even further back than that, when a lot of, I don't want to say fantasy characters because they don't perceive themselves as being fantasy. They perceive themselves as being real, inhabited the island and still inhabit it today. And you still get the tales, the Norse tales from Iceland of the hag witches, the Grimalion, all of these things that are still present in their literature and in a lot of their lives. And so I've got a cat that is, I think, may take the cover shot. I haven't decided yet, but I'm leaning that way. Although cats were
nice.
Yeah, cats were not well liked in Iceland because they thought they were shape shifters and they couldn't be trusted. And the time we spent in Iceland a year and a half ago, we drove around the entire island and we didn't see a single cat until we got back to South Iceland.
Isn't that interesting?
So, and I thought that was kind of strange and kind of very different. So, but yeah, so that will be the second one. One of the books will take back to medieval or even earlier England with the Druids. And the one I can't wait to write, but has to wait until I get to it, is the Out of the Ashes, which is the explosion of the Pompeii volcano.
Oh.
And what they find. And then at the very last book, Rosa makes full circle and goes back to ancient Egypt.
Cool.
She began. So
Marjorie wants to know, is there ever an explanation why Tut chose to communicate with Rosa?
Because she carries part of his queen's soul inside of hers, and he sensed that.
And Joe Conjal says, Cheryl, what type of marketing do you do for your books and what has been the most effective?
Oh, man. I do what everybody else does. I do book tours. Most of my marketing, I have to say, is first person. I visit schools. I do craft fairs. I do school book fairs, those types of things where I can actually meet the kids. For a couple years after I started writing, I did full-day medieval writing workshops for the Girl Scouts of Colorado. And so we did a bunch of different activities for the girls and all sorts of things to get them into that frame of mind. But most of mine, it's hard to sell a book if you're not there to do the selling, I find. When people hear about it, that's okay. Someone will pick it up and look at it. But when I can talk to the kids, talk to the parents or the grandparents and explain what's going on a little bit, and the excitement that the kids feel, you can just see that in their eyes when they look at the books. I find that the most rewarding. Yeah. It probably doesn't bring in the most money, but my goal is to get kids who don't like to read to read.
Yeah.
And that's really what I go for.
Well, that's the whole point of us doing this. This show is for people to get to know the author, because I agree with you. I think that the best selling you do is if you sell it yourself, and you love your books.
Right.
I mean, we all authors, I think, love their books. That's why we wrote them, because we had a story that we wanted to tell and we enjoyed it.
and your covers should hit the mark with your age group that you're looking for, because that's going to pique their interest.
Right.
About the adventure and the lands far, far away and all the mythical stuff and all that.
But reading books like that when I was young also made me interested in the history of those countries. And I mean, I've always thought historical fiction was a great way to learn history, because you had a great story and then you also got a history lesson. It was like history with a teaspoonful of sugar.
There you go.
And I still read like that too. I still read those kinds of things. I do have another set of books that we didn't talk about, but I thought one day I thought, I'm missing a whole big audience of kids who may not like to read or who struggle to read. And so I did a series, right now it's just a series of 3 books of Grandma and Grandpa's Tales.
Okay, let's take our last break here real quick. Hold that thought.
Then you can tell us
come
about
right back
Grandma's and Grandpa's
Tales. But we have to complete our thought on marketing.
Yeah.
This is our marketing here. So this is the marketing thought. Don't go away, folks. We'll be back in about a couple of minutes.
An unforgettable mystery thriller that will transport you back to 17th century England. Introducing Dream of Courage, facing fear head on, your passport to 17th century mystery, mayhem, and murder. Follow Robert and John Rushworth through Leeds' bustling Briggate district, where danger lurks in the shadows, embodied by the thief-taker Jacob Wilding. You will laugh, you will cry, and be in awe of the twists and turns. Its meticulous attention to character development, emotional nuance, and the unfolding of the story's layers promise a compelling and emotionally charged journey. The U.S. National Times said, "Modern writers usually don't know what it was like to live in the past. But Rushworth Brown does this with great skill." Uncover the secrets of Smythe, the enigmatic tavern keeper who sends Robert to the Haven, to the pirate Captain Girlington. Will he outweed danger in the nick of time?
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. 2 new enemies await him in the small, coal-mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
And we're
back. All right. So you wrote 3 books that were Grandma and Grandpa tales.
Right. I don't always do this really good, but this is the first one. Wild creatures in my neighborhood, and what if I went to the circus? And so these are for beginning readers or kids who really struggle with reading.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Grandma or Grandpa. They just did whoever's on the cover. Either Grandma or Grandpa. Singers of songs and the not too stubborn humpback. They work on different reading skills for the kids. And then the third one in that so far is called Vampires in the Backyard and a Fishtail. So.
Beware of vampires. Very nice. Reading is so important, you know. If you can get kids interested in reading, they can do anything.
Yes. Yeah. I even got my grandson, who is now 15. When he was 10, I even got him to do his own book, Cameron's Book of Insects.
Nice.
So he took all his own pictures, wrote all his own text in that.
Nice.
That's cool.
So, yeah. But he's the only grandchild I've been able to do that with.
We have a grandson who's now 11, and when he was 10, he started writing his first book. And I'm telling you what, his dialogue is better than ours. So when we were writing this book, we said, you have to come over and write our dialogue for us.
So did he?
No, he wasn't in time.
Thanks, but no thanks.
He wrote a book about Minecraft. And
it
was a story that took place within the realm of Minecraft.
Yeah.
It's about people were disappearing into the mines and weren't coming back out. And so a brother and a sister take a journey to find these people and find out what was happening to them. It's a really good book.
I bet it is. My 11-year-old grandson is into that stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I know more about that than I would ever need to know. But all of our grandsons have been into it. And
yeah,
we have 14 grandchildren, and I can't tell you how many hours I've spent playing video games, and I'm not good at it.
Well, you should be after all that time.
You would think that, but you would be wrong.
we're still pretty good at Pac-Man.
I'm good at Pac-Man. Yeah.
Spent a lot of hours on that one.
Yeah, when our own kids were growing up. But
yeah,
they say, don't worry, Gran, I'll teach you. And then they go, you do this. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Slow down.
Which button was that? The blue one or the red one? I don't know. Neither one. It's the one on the top. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all gamers.
So your first book you self-published in 2008, right?
Yes.
And that must have been quite a challenge because things were just opening up for self-publishing at that time. What kind of problems did you run into? A lot of problems getting that accomplished?
I think most of the problems I ran into were of my own making.
Oh, okay.
Because you didn't self-publish back then. There was frowned upon, and your book must not be any good. And so in fact, I paid somebody to do that to publish it for me.
Okay.
Which was the only way. And then, that was hard. And I still find it hard today to push that final button that says, okay, this is done. This is ready to go. I'm finished. I still find that difficult. Even when I know, even now that I have a good product, it's still hard to do that final button push.
Yeah,
it is.
But
Space was the way to go.
They were for
then.
the paperback, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You ever use that CreateSpace? I mean, it's no longer with us, but
I love CreateSpace. I sold more books on CreateSpace than I've sold on Amazon. You know, I would have people pick up class sets. It was just amazing how good that marketing was on that area.
Mm-hmm.
I think I cried when they took them out of business and said, we're done with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used CreateSpace too. Yeah, we miss it too.
It really was quite a good platform.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do a lot of I will publish now books on the Draft to Digital. I use that outlet to get them out there. I do use KDP.
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble and I fight frequently, so I don't use them as often.
We're not fans of Barnes and Noble either. I don't know if you've ever sold any paperbacks through them, but when you do, man, you don't make much money. It's like, are you kidding me? They take a huge chunk.
Yes, they do. And I don't know if I should say this or not. Sometimes their quality isn't as good either, so I have found, but I hope they're not listening.
I don't think they are.
Probably not.
Maybe
yeah, there you go.
Give your authors a little bit more money and do better quality work.
Yeah.
Hire CreateSpace. They were very helpful.
They were the best. And now I print my books through a printer out of Arizona. I print my author copies that I use because I sell. Well, I missed the first 2 shows of 2024 because I have the back injury.
Sorry.
Yeah, me too. What a pain. Literally.
Literally.
But I do probably 3 or 4 shows every month in person.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Busy.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I say, and that's what I like to do. I like to visit with the audience that I write for. So works out nice. I've done farmers markets.
Yeah. Yeah.
All those kinds of things.
Yeah. Actually, you can probably sell more at a farmer's market than you can at like Comic-Con or something like that because, you're more of a unique person there.
So most of the time, I'm the only one there with books. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's that people are interested. Then, they come over and say, are you an author? Are you selling, these are your books that you wrote?
And and they always are, oh, really? You wrote all of these?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So.
And then they get to talk with you and then they buy your book. So, yep. That's the whole point that George is having that big blast in
San Leon Blow.
San Leon Blast, yes.
I wish I lived closer.
I know. I wish we could go there too. We have so many other commitments right now in April and May. And then in June, like I said, we're going to Gettysburg with our team, our paranormal team. We're all going there. And then in July, we have one of our nieces is getting married. And then in August, another niece is getting married.
And that one we have to travel to quite a ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also sell to the homeschool.
Neck of the wood, Marjorie. We're going to be up there in August. Our niece is getting married.
West Bend.
In West Bend, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So we're doing all that. And it's just, I'd find it hard to do all those things. But otherwise, if we didn't have 2 trips in April already, we would love to go.
Yeah, we could have gone over.
I know. It really bums me out that we can't because so many people are. The San Leon book signing blowout. It's going to be great.
It sounds like it, yes.
It'll be fun. And you know what's fun is getting to talk to all the other authors too.
Yes. I know you said you'd been here to Colorado.
Yep.
We have Christmas Book Nook up at Georgetown, up in the mountains. It's cool. 2 weekends in December. And sometimes those weekends are really dicey as far as driving up there.
I bet.
It's, we get to meet a lot of people from all over the place, and we have a nice group of authors that we've been together for several years. And so it's nice to be able to visit and talk with them, talk shop, and just see what everybody else has been up to.
Yeah, that is nice. It's really great because you're always learning new things. And I really like that. Somebody always has a great idea that you've never thought of,
Yes.
It's amazing.
Well, and in and around all those shows, I always have to find time to travel because we love to travel. All the years that I taught, I worked, I would leave school and I worked part-time for an airline here in Denver. I did the night shift. And so I'm not only a retired high school English teacher, I'm a retired airline employee, and I have lifetime flight benefits, which are very nice. And so we've been to Egypt, we've toured the UK, we've been to Iceland. My next trip is going to be Pompeii.
Cool.
We need to take a short moment of silence here and say goodnight to all you folks in Atlanta that are listening on WDJY. Thank you so much for joining us, and tune in again, same time, same place next week, next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks again.
But for the rest of you, we're still here.
Yes, we're still here. We're going to continue.
Poor Atlanta, they're going to get such a bad feeling about that. Joe Conjal said, let's all commit to go next year. Yes, because
to the mountains.
To George's.
Oh, to George's.
To Texas.
The blow up.
I thought we should go to the mountains in Colorado too.
Chris Christmas said he wished he lived closer. I know. I know it's hard to get those places. And Tina, the best, says, hello, Tina.
Hello.
Yeah. Let's all commit to go to San Leon next year. We need oysters. Yay.
Yeah, oysters. They have oysters there. I hear they're really good too.
They are.
Not sure how I know that.
Maybe because George and I ate a lot of oysters when we were there. And George still eats a lot of oysters. Iceland is one place that is on my bucket list. I would really like to go there.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I thought Egypt was out of this world. Iceland is also out of this world.
Yeah, it really is. I had a friend who used to travel all the time, and she would bring me, believe it or not, pieces. She's passed away. She died of kidney cancer, so I can say this, not get her in trouble. She used to bring me pieces of the places that she visited. So, she went to China, and so she brought me back a piece of the Great Wall of China.
It wasn't like.
No, it was a little piece.
Just a little piece.
But still, I shuddered to think what could have happened to her if they had caught her.
Yeah.
And she also brought me a little part of King Tut's tomb.
It's right up there. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's right up there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm still alive, so I'm not going to tell you what I brought back.
But it was funny. Everywhere she went, she would bring me a piece of the building or something, especially the places I really wanted to go to, like China and Egypt. Egypt's always been on my bucket list too. I mean, it's fascinating. The history is fascinating.
The country is fascinating, and so are the monuments and things. It's really like another world.
Yeah, real. And they were never used. The pyramids were never used as tombs. So, they're not. None of the pharaohs are buried in the pyramids. So,
and you stand next to the pyramids and these gigantic granite blocks.
Yeah,
they just dwarf you. It's just absolutely mind-boggling as to how they fit all this stuff together. I think sometimes we tend to think that the ancient people weren't as smart as us, but I think they were smart in different ways, and they figured out how to build those things. And there, yes.
I mean, so many different peoples from around the world knew all kinds of astrological things that, and they weren't working with all the kind of telescopes that we have now. They had to observe and watch, and and it's amazing that they were able to do that. And they were very mathematical too. They really understood mathematics. And it's kind of ignorant of us to think that they weren't as smart as we were. They were maybe smarter
that's what I think. Yes.
Because they didn't have as much tech to work with as we do. They had to figure it all out for themselves.
Well, sometimes I think we were smarter before all the technology.
Well, then you had to do it then, didn't you? So
yes.
Yeah. And think about the Vikings. They traveled all over the world,
Yes.
in longboats. Longboats were big, but still they were.
You're talking about oceans.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And we've been ones like Titanic that hit an iceberg and went down.
I know, it's crazy. Well, we've been on cruises, and when you see some of those waves, you're like, can you imagine being on the Mayflower, or a Viking longboat, or any of those early ships? It's like insane.
Yes.
And there were still whales then too.
Yes, it's probably a lot more than there are now.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid that you're right. Well, this has been amazing. Let me go through your covers one more time for everybody. This is my favorite. It really is. That unicorn, I called it a horse. It's a unicorn, and a beautiful one, silver.
Guinevere, book 1.
Yep.
I have to say that's my picture too.
What is
that on the book 2?
Oh, on book 2.
So I took that when we were in England. Yes.
Stonehenge.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Guinevere, book 3. The King's Ransom. I like that sword. It's really pretty. Tutankhamun Speaks. Sons of the Sphinx and Feathers of the Phoenix. I keep wanting to say Sons of the Phoenix every time I say Sons of the Sphinx. I don't know why. But this has been great. Crazy, we really appreciate you having been on the show.
So I thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it.
And Connie Cleary says, thank you. Yes, it's been wonderful. And I think what you're doing is great.
Yeah.
All of these books for children, helping. Yeah. Yep. It's amazing, really.
Thank you.
Joe Conjal says, another terrific show. Thank you, Cheryl. And of course, Rob and Joan. Thank you for being in the audience. Paul Hollis says, great show. Thanks, Rob, Joan, and Cheryl. Thank you, Paul, for being here. Chris Chrisman said, great show. Thanks. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for all the questions and comments. They've been very much appreciated.
Yeah. Wouldn't be much of a show without our authors and without our audience. Right.
So we're going to
just you and me talking.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for joining us. We're going to move you over to the side here. If I can figure out how to move you. There we go. Stick with us, okay?
Okay, will do. Thank you again.
We come back to you.
Sure,
Marjorie says ditto.
Marjorie Deering says ditto.
Stay out of the cold there, Marjorie.
Yeah.
And want to make sure everybody joins us next Wednesday, right here where you're watching right now, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Here in the U.S., author Larry Freeland, military historical fiction, we'll be talking about. That'll be a little change of pace.
Mm-hmm. It'll be a big change of pace from tonight.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, so do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
I don't think
Everybody go pre-order A Chance of a Ghost for us. Appreciate that. And we'd like a review. Anybody that has already pre-ordered, please make sure you give us a review once it comes in and once you get a chance to read it. All right, so
And George already gave us a foreword. Thank you, George.
There you go. Yeah, George's foreword's in there. So until next time.
That's all, folks.
Bye.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DV.com.